All right, folks, we have a lot of stuff to talk about. A lot is happening, especially with silver going back up. But first, I was originally going to post the Silver Stacking podcast with Andy Scheckman and I today, but it is a longer episode, so it's still uploading actually. So I wanted to still get a video out. But folks, this episode I'll be posting tomorrow is by far the most heated I've ever seen Andy. We went into politics, and he's very passionate. He loves this country, and it's a hard episode to watch. It's going to be hard to watch because we talk about the stuff that no one else is willing to say or talk about, or opinions. And there's going to be a lot of trigger warnings, but I do feel like this stuff needs to be said because I agree with everything he says, and I'm sure almost all of you, if not all of you, do as well. So make sure you guys go check out that video. It might get censored because YouTube usually leans a lot more to the left, if you know what I'm saying. But yeah, make sure you guys check out that video. I'll be posting it probably 2 or 3 p.m. Eastern Standard. But yeah, it's a great episode though. So anyways, let's look at what silver's doing right now. It has been going back up. It's up to like 31 something. And we have a couple articles. First, we want to cover this one. It's just, giving some insight on the silver bull market, saying it still has legs. And then this is pretty interesting. UBS, which this came out yesterday, raises silver price forecast. So a lot of people are looking very optimistic on silver. We also have this article came out 18 hours ago. Silver gets its time in the sun. So yeah, let's just kind of look at what silver's doing right now. Just wanted to throw a video in today since it's looking like the podcast is going to take a little longer than expected. Make sure you guys subscribe, click the bell because I do post daily videos. You got to be updated on a daily basis, especially with nowadays. So yeah, last month silver cracked key resistance of $30 an ounce for the first time in over a decade. It's been quite a bull run for silver, and Chen Lin thinks it's still has plenty of legs. I mean, Lin is the founder of Lin Asset Management. During a recent interview with Kitco, he focused on 2 factors that could see silver push forwards to record levels. So as Lin noted, the last time silver broke $30 in 2011 after a minor consolidation, it quickly ran up to $50 an ounce, which is a very important thing to note, right? That is huge to think about. This is what I was talking about when silver broke past that very strong $30 resistance level. That was massive because it meant 2 things. One, it's going to be a lot harder to go lower again. As you're seeing right now, it's back up to 31 something when it dipped a little below 29. It's a lot harder to go lower, but it's also a lot easier to go higher. Where before it broke past 30, it was a lot harder to go higher because it would bounce at 30 and go back down, and it was a lot easier to go lower. So we are in a peculiar situation where silver is it's still in its prime time to shine. A lot of people give up as soon as it bounces back down from 33. No, just like he's saying right here, after it broke past $30 in 2011, there was a slight dip, and then it quickly ran up to 50, which is actually good, and that's what I was saying. A correction is actually correct, so it doesn't go just straight up. So Lin focused on 2 factors in place that could quickly drive the price higher. The first is the movement of silver from west to east, similar to the trend we've seen in gold. I mean, yeah, China's silver, China is up $4 more than COMEX, right? Shanghai, silver's trading $4 higher. Actually, a little more than $4, almost 5. Meanwhile, investor, and here it goes into, Lin points out that silver stocks at the Shanghai Futures Exchange have fallen to 10-year lows. Meanwhile, investment demand for silver in China exploded recently, with silver premium in the Shanghai market running about 10% over New York. So what I was just mentioning, we saw a similar phenomenon for gold in China in late 2023, right before the big price rally ran in the yellow metal. Quote, that means massive silver will be going from west to east, just like gold, and we should see a continued sharp rally in the price of silver. Lin said Chinese investors turning to gold and silver are a way to cope with negative real interest rates and sagging equity prices. Quote, since the second half of last year, the Chinese buyer has been buying gold. We see the gold premium of Shanghai over New York, which means gold has been getting into China, smuggled into China. People smuggle gold into China right now as we are speaking. They have been consistent over the past year. Silver just got started. I expect this to last for a very long time, especially since China is the biggest consumer of silver. Actually, India beat China this year. India already imported more silver in the first 4 months than all of last year. So China isn't the only Asian country with a growing appetite for silver. India imported, there we go. And they're saying literally what I just said. I haven't even read this article yet. India imported more silver through the first 4 months of 2024 than it did the entirety of last year due to higher solar panel demand and investor optimism. See, folks, I know what I'm talking about. Anyways, a second factor is global silver supply squeeze. Silver demand outstripped supply for the third straight year in 2023, leading to a significant structural supply deficit of 148.3 million ounces. This came on the heels of a 2022 production shortfall of the Silver Institute called possibly the most significant deficit on record. It also noted that the combined shortfalls of the previous 2 years comfortably offset the cumulative surpluses of the last 11. We're actually over 500 million ounces in the red within the last 3 years alone. Over 500 million ounces in just 3 years. So think about in 3 years from now. Think about in 9 years from now. Think about 15 years from now. And you don't think silver would ever break $100? Like, people are so short-minded, short-sighted. They're thinking in the next couple of months or the next year. Think about in like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, 20 years, what silver could be in the new fiat system. Hopefully it's not a fiat-based system because it won't survive, but whatever the new system is by then, silver will still be just as valuable because silver is the most highly conductive metal for thermal conductivity, electricity, and light sensitivity. So, anyways, the silver supply shortage has continued into 2024. Lin noted that the silver supply gap is as big or even bigger than the one that occurred in the 1950s. If you recall what happened in the 1960s, we ran out of silver, so we stopped minting the silver coin. Lin was referring to the removal of silver from U.S. quarters, dimes, and half dollars in 1965. The current supply squeeze won't likely abate anytime soon. A boom in industrial demand driven by solar sectors pushing overall demand higher at a rapid rate. And they're actually saying that solar would use 85 to 98% of the total silver inventory by the year 2050, and I forget what they said by the year 2027, but solar is just solar. They're not talking about EVs, where the EV sector, is going to be booming. Every automobile company by the year 2030, they're pushing to be electric. Then the new solar panels, the N-type solar cells, use even more silver than the previous solar panels. Then BEVs actually are using more silver as well. We are in a situation that is only looking extremely bullish for silver. So silver at $31 it's a steal. It literally is a steal at this point. The current squeeze won't abate anytime soon. According to Lin's data 2 years ago, the solar industry silver offtake was around 100 million ounces. In 2023, 200 million ounces. Lin projects demand approaching 300 million ounces in 2024. The Chinese silver industrial demand rose by a remarkable 44% to 261 million ounces last year, primarily due to growth in demand for green applications. And if silver isn't valuable, if it has no use, why did India purchase more silver in the first 4 months of this year than the entirety of the previous year? Why are they buying so much silver right now? Why is China now focusing on silver? Why are all the countries in the BRICS nations buying so much silver if it's useless, if it's worthless? It's because they're getting it for cheap right now, while it's still cheap. According to a research paper by scientists at the University of New South Wales, solar manufacturers will likely require over 20%, oh, there we go, they're reading it, of the current annual supplies by 2027 and by 2050, 85 to 98%. So they must have got this from another article that Andy and I covered earlier today. So Lynn pointed out that Microsoft just went solar. The company needs a tremendous amount of power to run its rapidly expanding AI business. And that's, AI chips as well. This could drive the silver deficit to as much as 500 million ounces, a number Lynn called scary. As Lynn describes it, we're heading into a period of high demand and short supply that could quickly push the price even higher. I mean, yeah, low supply, high demand does what? Pushes the price up. Lynn projects we could see silver surpass the record of $50 an ounce very quickly, and even if we don't see record prices in the coming months, the outlook for silver is positive. And don't expect it to break above 50 in the coming months. I mean, yeah, with the election headed and then the huge BRICS meeting in October, I mean, yeah, there's some big things coming, but don't expect it to. And don't hope for it to, because then you only have a couple months left to buy silver for $30. I mean, I would prefer it to rise in a couple of years so I can accumulate a lot more. I mean, patience is a virtue. Why would you want it to go high right now? UBS raises silver price forecast, expects outperformance versus gold. This was yesterday by investing.com. I mean, investing.com said this, folks. This is mainstream now. UBS strategists have lifted their forecast, expecting that the white metal will outperform gold in the near term. Now, Swiss Investment Bank projects a 2024 end year target of 36, and they had $30 beforehand, so that's up 20%. And, think about $36 silver. Well, that's pushing more towards 40. And if you see 36, everyone is going to jump on it. And I'm sure India's not done buying. I'm sure China's just getting started. And I'm sure a lot of other countries, and then powerful people as well. And then businesses, not only countries, but businesses that need silver like Tesla, and all the other technology companies and AI companies and solar, space, military, you name it. With all these wars going on, a lot of military needs silver. Military and aerospace use more silver than solar alone. So, I mean, we're looking at some crazy numbers, folks. Stuff that you and I both can't comprehend to even realize how big this shortage is or how dangerous it is. So, quote, our new silver price expectations reflect outperformance relative to gold and show the gold to silver ratio falling towards the long-term average, which is currently 68. We think silver is well positioned to do well on a relative basis in an environment where gold prices are rising. The Fed is expected to ease policy, market supply and demand fundamentals are tightening. Industrial demand surged, solar demand growing significantly. Yeah. And then this is an important part too. Although there are concerns about a potential squeeze in the silver market, UBS believes there are ample silver stocks available. But that's the point. Silver stocks aren't silver. That's the whole point of a silver squeeze, forcing the market to show its hand because the facade is running. So strategists expect continued demand growth, particularly from solar. No potential downside risk to mine production. This is definitely stuff you got to think about, and it's definitely stuff that is only going to get more extreme. The past performance is not a reliable indicator of future performance, and that is so important to think about how crazy the world is getting, and then to think about where it's headed, not only just industrially, but monetarily. And remember, just like gold, silver also benefits when the dollar is collapsing, so we could talk about the silver shortage all you want, or how solar is surpassing 1.4 terawatts and how we need so much, but then also the monetary, side of things. And that alone would be a perfect reason to stack silver. But then you have the industrial side of things as well with the silver shortage, which is even more reason to stack silver. I mean, there's so many different angles why silver has potential beyond just one or the other. It's both. I'll never forget the podcast I did with Robert Kiyosaki the author that wrote the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. I was on his episode titled "The Number One Asset Everyone Can Afford." If you guys want to go check it out, but I was mainly talking about the shortage because he was talking about the monetary side of thing, how the dollar's nothing. I'm sure you read his book and why you need silver because the dollar's worthless. But then I came from the angle of the silver shortage, and I remember there's a specific moment where he pauses and he says, "Wait, so you're saying that silver isn't only explosive and a good investment because the dollar, but you're saying there's also this whole other sector." He was like, "So I'm talking about the micro and you're talking about the macro." And I was like, "Yeah." And then it like clicked for him. And he even tweeted the next day to have proof that like I actually brought something to the table. He tweeted the next day about literally saying the same words in our podcast. He tweeted about the micro and the macro versions of silver, why it has so much potential. And that's important to note. There's so many different angles you look at it. Silver is the best investment, which is why nothing makes as much sense as silver. So anyways, I'm going to wrap this video up here. Remember, folks, do not miss the episode tomorrow with Andy Scheckman. It is crazy. Yes, Andy gets pretty heated. At the end, he said he needs to go take a couple shots, to calm down because he needs to simmer down. And he said, it's like, "I'm sorry," like while he was going in his rants, like, "I'm sorry, folks, if I'm offending anyone, but like, this is just how he feels." And, it was crazy. It honestly was like crazy. Very, I've not seen Andy get that worked up, and I knew that was going to happen. And I even warned, I said, I was like, there's a direction I want to take this today because I feel like it's important to talk about, but um, you know, I don't know if you want to go down this road. And he said, "Yeah, let's do it." And sure enough, we went down that road. And yeah, but it was a great conversation, though. I feel like a lot needed to be said, and a lot of you will feel validated in your opinions as well. So yeah, make sure to look out for that, and please like that video and comment on it so it gets pushed, because YouTube will probably try to censor it just from the talking points we came from, if you know what I'm saying. Thank you so much for tuning in. This was Silver Slayer. I will see you guys tomorrow in the episode. Peace.